Yes, Saket, please.
Yes. Very good morning, sir, and good morning
Good
to
morning.
one and all present here. It is a privilege to have you here, sir. We are eagerly waiting for your deliberation. To begin with, I'd like to invite our principal, sir, Dr. Mohammad Riyad, sir, for the welcome address. Sir.
Thank you, Saket. A very good morning to everyone. I am proud, honored, and well delighted today to welcome Mr. Abdullah Khan among us, who needs no introduction to the word of letters. On behalf of the management of Karim City College, Jamshedpur, I express my deep gratitude to him for taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to our students and share his love of reading and writing with them. This is the 21st event of Writers Beyond Distance, which is an initiative of the Department of English, Karim City College, which intends to open the doors of creativity for our students by introducing them to fertile minds across the globe. In the earlier event of this series, the department has welcomed the several writers of the national and international repute. Today's introduction with Abdullah Khan is the another one in the series, and we are eagerly looking forward to all a wonderful lecture. I congratulate the head Department of English, Dr. S.M. Yahya Ibrahim, for his efforts in the bringing Abdullah Khan to us and wish the department a wonderful event today. I extend my best wishes to the department, its students, and its faculty members for a dynamic learning session ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, as I said, that we are eagerly waiting for your deliberation. But just a few words. Uh, Abdullah Khan, a Mumbai-based screenwriter, novelist, literary critic, and banker, has contributed to numerous South Asian, American, and British literary journals and newspapers, including The Hindu, Brooklyn Rail, Vasafiri, Mint, Scroll, Frontline, Outlook, etc. His debut novel, that is Patna Blues, published by Juggernaut Books, has been translated into 10 languages worldwide. His second novel, A Man from Motihari, was published by Penguin Random House India in April 2023. So, sir, uh, we are waiting for your deliberation. The platform, this online platform, is now all yours, sir.
Thank you, Saket, for this wonderful introduction, and thank you, Principal Saab, for your kind words. And thanks again, Yahya Bhai, for inviting me and giving me chance to interact with the people who comes from the my side of world. So I always eager to talk to the people, Bihar or elsewhere Bihar, because most of the stories, characters, and thematic treatment are from those areas. And I believe that uh, uh, the students from that area will be better way in better position to identify with my stories. And interestingly, Sana is attending. So Sana is my daughter's name, and Abhinav. Some of the names I were there, Madiha. So I also welcome all the students, especially those who aspire to become a writer. Please listen to my story very attentively. It will help you to go a long way. And so let's start. So I will start with my story. What is the story behind the story? So I have written two novels. So my life itself is a novel, how I became a writer. So the story started in a small village near Motihari. Motihari, you all know, is famous for Champaran Satyagraha. Gandhiji started his Satyagraha from this small town, and this is how it became the world famous. There is another big personality associated with Motihari, and that is George Orwell. You all must be aware. Orwell was born in Motihari in a small bungalow, at the outskirts of city. Now it is part of the city only. So this is how the my story started in a small village. As a kid, I was greedy about the stories. Whenever my relatives, my aunt, or any relatives used to visit my house, all of my cousins will rush to them to know that what kind of sweets they have brought, what kind of biscuits they have brought. But the first and the foremost question are, Fufu, Khala, will you tell me a story tonight? So I was looking forward to new stories because my daddy, my mom, my aunts who used to live with me in the village, their story stock has exhausted. So I always used to look for the new stories. Then, and that time I used to go in my village madrasa. So as it was a rule, initially we used to go a village madrasa. So I was a madrasa student that time, mm, reading Quran and Urdu. So then I got a gift of storybook mm, from my father. It was called Bal Bharti. Bal Bharti used to be a child magazine, children magazine, published by the government of India in Hindi. So by that time, I was not aware that a storage books existed outside the classroom. So that was my first exposure to non-academic books. So I was so happy that uh, I told myself, now I don't have to dependent on others for the supply of my stories. So this is how I started reading the magazine. And that time only I decided that I will write some stories. Then in school time, I got addicted to the pulp fiction, mostly reading the Hindi pulp fiction, Ibn Safi in Urdu, then the translation of Bangla literatures, for example, Devadas, and others novel by the famous Bangla writers. So this is how I started reading. But uh, from very beginning, I wanted to write in English, despite the fact I was studying in a Urdu medium school where maths, science, everything was taught in Urdu. Before that, I attended a madrasa. So madrasa and between Urdu medium school. So I was thinking about writing in English. And that time, from class 6, English was taught. Before that, you don't even learn ABCD. Then I shifted to a school, now Hindi medium. So this is how the story continued. And when I came to know that Orwell was born in my home district in 90s, so that was a big booster for me. It was inspiration. So I thought this big English language guy was published in my hometown. So can I be a Orwell kind of guy? So I started daydreaming, but it was a non-starter for next few years. Then in 1997, when Arundhati Rai won the Booker Prize, that was a big inspiration. So I thought, I am next in the line to get a Booker. So that evening itself, I went out, purchased a very expensive and fancy notebook, a very expensive fountain pen, and I started writing. And within a week, I finished five, six chapters and sent out the printout. That time it was very expensive to get the electronic printing or computer printing in late 90s. So I spent a lot of money. That time I had started writing for Hindustan Times and Times of India. When I was in college doing my BSc from AN College, Patna. So I had started writing for the ST and Times of India, articles on music, sports, arts. So I was making good money by that time's yardstick. So I got it printed and then sent out to all the big publishers, agents across the world. Nobody responded except one editor at Pan Macmillan, and she told me, uh, my writing is okay, but I need to work hard. So I was a bit disappointed, but still I kept writing. But my bad habit was that, sorry, I kept writing first few chapters again and again. So more than 200 times I rewrote the first six chapters. So uh, it was not progressing. Just six chapter again and again and again. Then I got a job in bank and was posted in a small town in Punjab. So I have never been out of my family house. So it was difficult handling. I did not know cooking. It was a small place, and Patna was almost 2 days away. So even you get in the train, you will take 2 days to reach the Patna. So I just get drifted from the writing and reading. And then I got married in 2002. And my wife Tarannum discovered the old manuscripts. And then she started forcing me. Why don't you start writing? And this is how the story started. I was posted in a small town in UP, and there was nothing there, no cinema hall, no mall. There was nothing. So life was almost boring. I used to spend all the time in office. So my wife told me, why don't you write? That time I used to write with the pen, long hand. So she told me, you write and I will type. So the kind of pact was this. And every morning she used to ask me, uh, give me the material for typing because I get bored here all the whenever you are in office. So at least I will busy with the typing. So she started typing and then become a target. Every day I have to give her 2, 3 pages. So I started progressing. Then I left the public sector bank, joined a private bank in Ludhiana. So there again, my wife purchased a new laptop and told me now it is a new age, you should directly type. So after that, I started typing. Anyhow, I was able to finish the novel after struggling for 7, 8 years. And then I sent it to a one critic for his feedback, and feedback was really devastating. So I thought of stop writing. But then Tarannum told me ki you must go through their feedback and their criticism and try to think whether you agree with not. If you agree, work on that. If you don't agree, just ignore it. So after a cooling period of almost 1 year, I started reworking on those manuscripts. And that time the title of the novel was different and it was not working. Then my wife told me, think of something other, something associated with Bihar. And one of my friend, Kerala-based professor, Professor Kishore Nair, we met at a writing workshop. So he told me, why don't you add Patna or Bihar in your title? So then I came up with Patna Blues. And after the title was given Patna Blues, I immediately got the offer. I sent it to two editors, senior editors, and got offer from the Chiki Sarkar, who was the Penguin head then and just started a new publishing venture called Juggernaut. So it was accepted. After that, I rewrote in Urdu and Hindi. Hindi was immediately sold by my publisher to other publisher, then Malayalam, then Marathi, and then Arabic translation. So it keeps coming. And 10 more languages are in offering. Farsi, Turkish, Uzbekistani, and others languages. It may be uh, coming up in next uh, few years. So this is how. And then for the second novel, that is called A Man from Motihari. So 10 years back, I was given an assignment by Bangladesh #1 English newspaper, Daily Star, to write about the Orwell's connection with the Motihari. So I was just standing in front of the house where Orwell was born in 1903. So just it occurred to me, what if a Motihari boy was born in the same house? And then after few years, he would come to know that he was born in the same room where great George Orwell was born. How this event will impact his life, how he will use this information. So this is how the story of Aslam Sher Khan, that is about uh, Orwell's connection with Motihari plus changing socio-political scenario of India. And it is set in present times mostly, uh, in contrast to Patna Blues, which is mostly set in 90s. So you get a nostalgic trip to Patna, the Patna of 90s, when things were different. So this is my story in brief. So right now I am working on two titles. One is a novel set in the time of partition about the travels of a Bihari family who who are displaced by partition and how he faces discrimination when they landed in their promised holy land. So this is a kind of contrast source. And then there is a sequel to Patna Blues because Patna Blues was well received outside English world also, especially in Tamil. In Kannada, it was printed 4 times in Arabic. So I keep getting messages from Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, it was bestseller in Tamil edition because there are Tamil population in the north side of the Sri Lanka, and I also get message from the Arab world like Algeria, Lebanon, even Syria. Uh, so they always keep asking me what happened to Arif, what happened to Farjana. So, and where Jakir had been all the time. For 5 years, he disappeared, and then suddenly he comes back. So, these were the questions that was haunting me also. I did not have answer, but now I have answer. So, I am working on Patna Redux, sequel to Patna Blues, almost 80% done. Maybe it will be published in 2025. And then that partition novel, which is almost 25% done, but it is on hold until I finish this one. Besides that, I also write for screens. I have written a few songs for the film and a couple of film and web shows. Some of the shows are slated to be released in 2025. And this is my story. As a profession, I am a banker. My day job is a banker, and I also occasionally write on literary issues for magazines, different magazines and newspapers. I live in Mumbai right now, but my roots are in Bihar, in Motihari to be specific. So this is my story, and if some of the students are aspiring writers, and if anyone, they want to ask any questions, any specific question, they can ask. And for the aspiring authors, if you are interested, I can tell you some tricks that I learned after uh, working so hard and spending so much time. So I can simply share those tricks in few lines. Anyone? I want it to be interactive because in the office also, in bank also, I speak a lot on uh, online meetings. So it's very difficult to concentrate when you are speaking to a blank screen. So I need feedback from your side. Any questions? Any hint?
Saket, there are students in the chat box and somebody is raising their hand.
there are also there are students raising their hands. So I'm seeing Abhishek Bhakat. Abhishek, if you want to ask something, then you may unmute and ask.
Thank you, sir. I'm Abhishek Bhakat, and I would like to know, sir, that being a writer, how could we have the clearance to write anything? Because if you don't have a clear vision to write anything, then you won't be able to write anything. So, as you achieve something to write a thing, and you have a clear vision on that. So, how could you get that? So, if you teach us how to have a clear vision on a topic, because without having a clear vision to write anything, we can't write anything, right? So Being a writer, I would like to know.
Abhishek, first switch on your camera. I would like to see you. How do you look? Hi, Abhishek. Nice to see you. I got your question. So you are doing masters. Your voice is gone. You are on mute.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
He is in PG semester 1.
sir,
Okay.
yes, sir. Hmm.
So you are talking about the vision. Yes, of course.
Yes,
Whenever you're writing a story, especially fiction, you have to do a lot of research. It may sound very contradictory, but if you are writing a fiction, you need to research more. You need to know more. So, for example, if you are writing about a character, can you mute
Hmm.
Abhishek? Please mute. So, when you are writing
Sorry, sir.
about uh, when you are writing about a character, you are writing about his whole life, his eating habits, his cultural context, his political views. So, you have to become that character. Maybe that character is totally different from you. For example, you are writing about a villainous character. So you have to get into his shoe, and your worldview is from his eyes. That may be totally different from yours. You have to understand his perspective. Everyone comes with a set of identities. Your religious, caste, regional, linguistic, national identity. And all those identities mold and impacts your thought process. Nobody can claim to be unbiased, 100% unbiased. We can make sure that we are aware of our biases. That makes us more human. So you have to become more human to understand the other's point of view. And if you are able to understand the other people's point of view, get into his shoe and look at the world from his eyes, then you will be able to create a credible and real character, well-rounded. You are the. I studied all the time science. I did masters in organic chemistry. So you better know these jargons and understand the context. So I studied chemistry all my life. Thank you.
One more question, sir. Uh, as you get a motive without having a motive to write, like your wife suggests you to write on something, that can be motivation. How can we get? Because without having a motive, we can't have the motivation to write.
Yes, yes. That is a very interesting question. Actually, I have thought of speaking about this. Thank you, please prompting me. So basically, the first question I get from all the aspiring authors, where to get stories? Kahani kahan hai? Where to find them? First step is to find a story, then you will write. Na? Where is the raw material for your stories? So stories is all over around you. You just look around. You have stories. But how to start? I will tell you how to start. The sources of stories are first news items. Whenever you read a newspaper, you find a good human story, a nice, interesting story about a person who reached the London by hanging on the aircraft. Is it possible? It is possible to travel to London by hanging on the flight. It was possible. There was a news item. Now think of who is this person? Where he come from? What is his background? What was the motivation? And where he will end? You find the story, fill the gap. You have a story. And you analyze whatever the story you read, whether it is written by Shakespeare or any other writers. Every story has these structures. This is how you find a story. I find a story from the places. If I find some place very interesting, then I try to think of my character visiting that place and the story starts from there. You find some interesting name. I created some story because I find some name very interesting. Then I was curious. Who can be this person? XYZ. I created a story for a web series from a WhatsApp forward. Friend forwarded a 4-line WhatsApp forward. I thought it is an interesting idea. It can be converted into a 2 hours movie. So this is how the stories are found. Just make sure you get hold of the character and then you follow him and you check what is his background or her background. So you can do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. We have some more students raising their hands. Ashi, if you can unmute yourself and ask. Ashi. Okay, we have Jagriti also. Jagriti, you can unmute and ask your question.
First of all, a very good morning, sir. I just want to know from you that what inspired the character of Arif Khan in your first novel, Patna Blues?
Thank you, Jageti. Good morning. So, when I was growing up in Patna, I used to watch many students trying hard at the IS because it is an obsession in our part of world. IS is a kind of obsession. So everyone was trying hard to get into the IS, and sometime some of them did not have that kind of resources to get admitted into a good coaching classes and live in Delhi to do the preparation. So there were many burnout. So many people will not succeed and end up with nothing in their hand. So from there, I thought of a middle class boy called Arif who is trying. He is also obsessed with the IS. And then finally, what happens to him is this story. So this is how I got the. It is a story of every middle class Bihari boy. Nothing special, but that is why people are able to identify with the characters of Arif. So that is how I got the Arif.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I have another question for you. Sir, I just want to know that could you share any insights into your experience writing for different mediums, such as film and television on one hand, compared to writing novels and short stories on the other hand?
Yes, yes. Those are both are fiction writing. So when you conceive the story, process is same. You find the character, you find the setting, you decide the which way story will go, but the writing process is totally different. For example, if you are writing a literature, you can get into the mind of a character. The basic difference is, so for example, there is a character called X, Mr. X. So time and again, you can get inside the mind of a character and you can understand the thought process. But in the film, you have to show. So you can't get into the mind of the character frequently. Sometimes you do add a voiceover, but too many voiceover will spoil your cinema. So uh, exactly you have to show. For example, the person was very sad and he's thinking about something. But when you are writing a film script, you cannot write that lines. He was sad, he was thinking in deep thought, something like that. You cannot write. So you have to show it. If someone is angry, how he is angry, whether he is pacing around or that moving his hand in air or shouting, everything you have to show. You cannot tell. In fiction also, a good fiction is more about the showing than telling, but you can tell the background story in writing a book. But in film, you have to show everything. That becomes a bit challenging when you are writing a script.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Welcome.
Okay, so next we have Madiha. Madiha, if you can unmute yourself along with a video. Please switch on your video as well if, and ask your question.
A hearty good morning to everyone. So, many of us are afraid of failures. We easily get disappointed even with the smallest downfall. So, did you not face any skepticism at the beginning of your writing? How did you manage to believe in yourself?
No, I am also a human being. So I was also impacted by the failures. I felt bad. But it takes sometimes you come out of in our life, many serious thing happens, even worse than failing as a writer. And then we come up, we lose our years and years, then life goes on. And you need a support system. For example, I was lucky. Everyone around me was so encouraging, especially my wife. So that kept me going. So you need the positive people around you. And you have to, if you are obsessed with someone, because I had decided I will get at least one book published before I die. So that was my target. I will keep trying. So whenever I used to get the bad rejections or some nasty response from the agents and the editors, everyone will not be that nice and that polite. Some people might be telling me, why don't you write in Urdu or Hindi? Some people might tell you, your story is not worth publishing, so try something else instead of fiction writing. So for the some time, I used to think that, I will not, I will stop writing. So actually, I did. When I got into the bank, I was in a small town, Punjab. And I used to send my article to Tribune and other newspaper, and nobody knew me. They did not publish anything. Then I gave up. Oh, अब ये writing नहीं होने वाला. Then things changed when I got married. So this is how the. But once you are determined that you will get published, you will. I can assure you, you will get published. There is only one formula: keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Those many gifted people, many very talented people with a. In my circle, there are many people who have studied English literature from Harvard and Oxford. They did not get published. I did because I kept trying. So this is how the it works. So keep trying. If you have a dream and if you want to get published, you will. It may take some time. For me, it took almost 20 years. But once one book is successful, then life becomes easier. Next book was published within a within 1 year. I finished, and immediately it was published. So this is how the life goes.
Okay, so thank you so much. Sir, I have another question. So, can we assume that the story of the protagonist of your novel is a reflection of a part of your life, or it is just the ocean of your imagination?
Actually, whenever you write a novel, especially first novel, whoever, even you are writing a science fiction, any horror story, any, always your thought process, your worldview, the people around you, everything will come into your stories, maybe directly, indirectly. So you can't claim that 100% it is a figment of my imagination. Mostly stories, basic plot line is figment of my imagination, but some of the characters are, for example, the Arif takes some moral decision. So I presume if I were in Arif's place, how I would have reacted. That is a kind of fiction also. I am imagining something which actually did not happen. But I am presuming, if I were in his place, how I would have reacted. Then I will write. So you can say 20% taken from the real life, 80% is my imagination. So when you create a character, for example, a friend character, so that friend character is taken from 3-4 people. 80% is characteristic from 3-4 friends of mine, and 20-30% is my imagination. So this is how you create the a character. So you always get influenced by your thought process, your ideology, the way you look at the world. Everything will come up in your writing. You can't prevent. So this is how the stories are created. कुछ सच्चाई होती है, कुछ फसाने होते हैं. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Next we have Priyanka raising her hand. She's a student of PG. Priyanka, you may go ahead with your question.
Good morning, sir. So, first
Good
and
morning.
foremost, I want to express our immense gratitude for your presence here today. And secondly, sir, your journey from the world of banking to becoming a successful writer is truly intriguing. Like you shared that from a very young age, you had this dream of becoming a writer, and you also started your writing career very early during your college years, and you even wrote few chapters of your novel. But you had to set aside writing when you started your career, and how your wife played a very important role to convince you to take and pursue your passion again. And now that you have successfully published two novels, I want to ask you, do you ever find any conflict or difficulties balancing your role as an author and as a banker? Or do you ever wonder if you would have excelled more, or on the contrary, not achieved what you have now if you have solely focused on only one career? Or do you feel like managing both professions come very naturally to you? And if yes, I would like to ask you, what advice would you give to aspiring writers who find themselves juggling between multiple careers or interests, or between passion or profession?
So basically, Priyanka, very intelligent question. I find banking and writing as a complementary to each other. So if you don't interact with the real world, you don't get a story. So you must get out, interact with the people, meet as many people as possible. So I think just shutting in your room and writing is not possible for me at least. So I don't think it is kind of harder. Actually, it propels me and inspires me because I in the middle of my career I got invitation from TV company and media company to join them, but I avoided because all the time doing the creative writing will not help. It is like when I exhausted by the bank work and coming home and then writing a kind of uh, something which give me comfort, which give me uh, some feel good factor. So, and it is very easy to balance. If you are get addicted to someone, so writing is like addiction. So once you get into this, you can't help. You have to get the dose of writing every day, and every time you keep thinking of the characters. And a writer, if he's not writing, then he's thinking. So I get my stories when I travel to my work on local train. So I have 1 hour to think
Yes.
about my character. When I return, I have 1 hour to think about my character. So this is how the we balance. We whenever we meet some interesting character, interesting person during my business hour. So that also helped me to create new characters, new stories. So it always helps. So if you are determined that you will get published, you'll write, then you can. It will not create a. I know many writers. Everyone is doing some job, and some jobs are very demanding. But my job is also very demanding, and even more demanding jobs there in working in the army, in the air force, in IT industry, traveling a lot of. Many people are traveling all the time. Still, they are able to right, even waiting for the aircraft at the airport, you can open. Now the things have become very easy. You have a laptop, mobile, you can do the voice typing. You can use a electronic pen. So there are so many options. So if you want, you can. If you don't want, then nobody can help. So it is possible. Every kind of professors, doctor, engineers, everyone is doing some second job because writing is not that much pay and there is no certainty. In first book, you may earn good money, second book may bomb. So in this field, it is not surety. So everyone, I advise every writer to keep their job.
Yes.
Okay, Priyanka?
Thank you, sir. So, I have another question. So, given your early interest in writing, I'm curious to know if you observed any gaps or missing elements in writing industry that inspire you to pursue it further. Or was your decision to delve into writing solely driven by your passion for the craft? Additionally, what advice would you offer to aspiring writers regarding where they should focus their efforts within the writing industry? And do you believe there are any areas that currently lacking or in need of improvement?
No, I did not get your last part of your question. Can you rephrase it?
Yes, sir. So, wanted to ask, what advice would you offer to aspiring writers regarding those who want to pursue writing, regarding where they should focus their efforts within the writing industry? And do you believe there are any areas that currently lacking or in need of improvement within the writing industry?
So that industry is it's on grammar, on formula. So many writers complain that they did not get opportunity to get published despite their book being a masterpiece. So that we can't help because everywhere things like that happen. For even any other industry, you will many find many people with the lesser qualification, lesser IQ level are sitting at the top. So you can't help that. That will beyond your reach. What you have do, you try to improve your writing as much as possible and keep trying. And the only motto is that you will get published should stay with you, and you keep reading also. Reading is a very key element. I have met some of the writers who don't want to read. I have met some of the writers वो पढ़ना नहीं चाहते, बहुत कम पढ़ते हैं, या many aspiring writers, yeah, I don't want to read book but I want to be a best selling writer. तो वो नहीं चलेगा बॉस. If you want to do something, अगर आपको शेफ बनना है तो खाना पहले तो खाना पड़ेगा ना. You have to eat, you have to taste, understand the alchemy of spices, then you can become a chef. Otherwise मुझे खाना नहीं खाना है but I have to become a chef, a good cook. So that will not do. So reading is a very key element. And if you aspire to be a writer, then read 3 times. Any good book which you like, read 3 times. First time to enjoy, to understand the plot. Second time to understand how the story transition from one chapter to another chapter, how paragraphs are phrased, how characters are developed. And third time to understand the nuances of the story. What kind of thematic treatment has been given, how it has been handled. Because you have to, especially in the case of novel, when you are writing 300 page or 400 page, remaining focus is a big challenge. So a story goes here and there, and that really does not work. So you have to think of something central theme, which is threaded through entire story, entire narrative. So a bit of detours is okay, but not too much. So that you have to master by reading the masters. Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, sir.
Our session is getting interesting. We have Sakshi, student of UG. She also raised her hand. Sakshi, you may unmute and ask your question.
Good morning, sir.
Good
So my
morning.
question for you is that the people of our generation are contemporary writing time. So what should be on our minds if we write a novel? Should we stick to a
Sakshi, थोड़ा सा
particular?
जोर से बोलेंगे. A bit louder. Your voice is not clear.
Sakshi, you are not clear.
हाँ, थोड़ा जोर से बोलिए. Bit louder.
Yes, sir. So we the people of this contemporary time. So what should be on our minds while we are writing? Should we stick to a particular genre, a particular style, or we can juggle between them? We
No,
would
it
really like
depends.
to hear from you, sir.
Sakshi, it depends. So you have to take a call. I know many writers who write in multiple genre, but it is my advice is, as a beginner writer, my advice is to choose your genre. For example, the writing style of a literary fiction or general fiction is totally different from a crime novel. So in case of literary fiction or general fiction, we focus on the characters, their internal monologues, their emotional journeys. In case of crime fiction, for example, a murder mystery, so our focus is on plot. So we are not getting into the internal journey too many. Many writers mix both of them. So that is how literary murder mystery are created. So you have to decide what kind of, for example, if you enjoy science fiction and you want to write science fiction, fine. You have to choose a genre. You cannot be master of all. Once you become an established writer, you can try something else. For example, Amitav Ghosh wrote Calcutta Chromosome, which is a science fiction. You can get into the historical fiction. So, but initially you have to decide what kind of stories you want to tell. So, genre is very important. Genre, what kind of genre you want to, then you can read the masters of that genre. Or if you want to write like a Stephen King, then read a lot of a Stephen King. If you want to be a Grisham legal thriller, then you have to follow him. Campus novel, then you have to read those who writing that kind of. So it's totally upon you. What kind of a story do you enjoy more? I mostly see those people write in those genres which they enjoy, except a few exceptions where the person will read crime fiction but will write science fiction. But there are few examples of those kind of persons. Mostly, if I love murder mystery, I will write murder mystery. If I like literary fiction, I will write literary. Thank you, Sakshi. I hope your question had answered.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we also have Nargis with us. Nargis, you may unmute yourself and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir, and a very good morning
Walaikum
to all.
salam.
I have a question for you, sir, that in Patna, we encounter a diverse cast of characters, each with their own motivations and complexity. How did you approach crafting these characters, and what insights into human nature did you aim to convey through their stories?
So you are asking about how I create characters. That is your question, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So basically, when you are writing a story, initially you have a many set of characters. So how you create characters? So there are many methods, and every writer, every creator has their own method. But what I follow will explain to you. So whenever you think of created characters, one is that you create a totally fictionalized characters, nothing from reality. So what you can do, you can create a list. For example, first find out the name, an interesting name. For example, name is Alka. Alka is a name. But what Alka does, what kind of food she likes, what kind of books she reads, whether she reads or not, what is her political orientation, what kind of society comes from. You make a list of everything. For example, Alka does not like Karela. You also point out that. Then you have to think of the interrelation between the different characters. That is called relation map. This is a kind of mechanical way of writing, especially used in the TV and the film where you have hundreds of characters, but it also works in the fiction. For example, you have 5 characters. Character A, how character A is. Physical attributes are there. He's tall, he has long hair, he speaks in dialect, and so many things. His qualification, his education, his food habit, his political orientation, whether he writes poetry or not, all kind of relevant information are put down. Then there is a thing called relation map. So think of what a character A try to show to the other people. Because I am a not a very brave person, but to other person I will show that I am very brave. So you write internally what he thinks about himself, externally what he thinks about himself. So his two part of character. One, what is his from inside one. Then his relation with the character B. For example, there is a character B. What he thinks of character B and what he shows to the character B. Then in the reverse method, character B इससे क्या सोचता है? जैसे for example, you are thinking of someone, अरे ये तो बड़ा बेवकूफ आदमी है, but in face, अरे भाई साहब आप तो बहुत अकलमंद है. So this should reflect in the stories also. Once you decide this, then you are writing. When he is alone talking to his friend, so अरे वो तो बहुत बेवकूफ आदमी है. But when he meets this person and somebody is there, तो अरे भाई साहब बहुत होशियार. So this is how you create the character. वो करेला पसंद नहीं करता है, इट मे नॉट बी यूज्ड इन योर स्टोरी, लेकिन कहीं पे आता है जैसे करेला रखा हुआ है, वो उस करेला को दूर हटा देता है. That will give a hint. This person does not like. It also give idea about the character. Think of the real person. अरे वो तो इस बात पे चिढ़ जाता है, वो ये नहीं खाता है. So in real life, you identify a character based on the different traits. So this is how the fictional characters are also created. So I create a big logbook kind of thing. Because I was a science student, so my approach was a bit analytical. So I will create an Excel sheet where name of the all characters, their date of birth, year of birth, and their habits and what they think about the other character. Everything I note down. So whenever you are writing a long form of fiction, so you can, for example, he was born in 1984. 92 में हमने दिखा दिया कि he was 15-year-old. Then it will not sound good. Then we can refer to Excel. Oh, ये 12 साल का. How he will react if particular thing is happening there. So this is how I create the character. And I also give the details of looks. Tall, short, how he speaks, what kind of dialect. For example, his Hindi is flavored with Bhojpuri, or he is a Maghi speaker, or whether he use pristine form of Urdu, or he mixes English. So this kind of information I keep ready. When you are writing, then you can use those information. This is a kind of mechanical way to create a character. Some people don't do that. They just write in a stream of consciousness. So it is you to decide how to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Vishakha, are you there? You can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir, first of all.
Good morning, Visakha. Good morning.
Sir, I just wanted to say that firstly that your journey from a different background of science and then to a completely different profession of banking and then again to the field of literature, that's really commendable and inspiring for us. I just wanted to know and I just wanted to ask on the behalf of all aspiring writers that what is the process of publication and how do we approach that particular publishers or something? Because as students we don't have that much of financial stability as well, and we do not even know the platforms to whom to approach and all that. So I just want you to guide us for that.
So first thing is that if you want to get published, start writing for newspapers and magazines. For that you have to try. Because before I got published in Hindustan Times, I had to send 80 articles to different newspapers, magazines. So after rejection of 80 articles, then the 81st or 82nd article was published by Hindustan Times. So first thing is that you make your credibility. If you are sending a query letter to a publisher, so they must be convinced that you are serious about the writing. If someone who has never published any article, anything, then the publisher might think they are the casual writer, not serious. So you can start with the writing for your college magazines or letter to editors, and then you keep trying uh, by publishing. Even your blog, now things have become easier. So you can also write your blog. Then you start writing for the digital magazines or newspapers. So this is how your credibility is established. Then first thing is that most of the young writers, before they are ready, they start approaching publishers. So don't do that. Once you complete your writing and try to get into a group, peer group of writers where you can give and take feedback of each other. So this really helps. It is not necessary that any feedback is coming to you, you should accept. You take every feedback, every response with a pinch of salt. So you just try to understand there are three kinds of feedbacks. One, the easiest is that it is very, very nice. So it hardly takes 30 seconds. If you are sending something to a friend or a writer, so very easy. Vishakha, your writing is fantastic, wonderful, and it will cost me 30 seconds. Second one is a vicious critic who will destroy your confidence, your writing. I have faced some of them. So you are good for nothing. Go back to your village and just start doing the farming. You are not worthy of a becoming a writer. So that kind of feedback, poisonous and negative feedback, that you should also guard yourself. Just throw those kind of feedback into a dustbin. Third one is a creative and constructive criticism, where you will find the person has given you feedback, maybe negative, but he might have also given you pointer how to improve. जैसे इस रास्ते से मत जाओ, इधर बहुत खतरा है, उस रास्ते से जाओ, वो ठीक है, इट इज स्मूथ, उधर सड़क भी अच्छी है. दिस काइंड ऑफ एडवाइस इज ऑलवेज यूजफुल. ये कहना कि हाँ जाओ जाओ क्योंकि मरोगे तुम, व्हाई शुड आई केयर, या बिल्कुल डरा देना, जाओ ही नहीं, घर में बैठे रहो. तो उस तरह का नेगेटिव और बहुत ज्यादा जो चॉकलेटी फीडबैक होता है, दैट शुड बी अवॉइडेड. And as far as publishing is concerned, it is a tough process and we have to keep trying. So because average publisher gets 10,000 manuscript every year and he might pick up 3-4 out of which. So, and now there is an agent system. So there are literary agents. So you try to impress literary agents with your writing. If agents like your writing, then you can sign you as a their client, and they will pitch your story. And no genuine agent will charge any money. So if any agent is asking any money, just turn back and run away. Don't talk to them. क्योंकि वो एजेंट जैसे प्रॉपर्टी डीलर होता है, जब आपको मकान दिला देता है तब तो कमीशन लेता है ना. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि मकान दिखाने का कमीशन लेता है. It is not like that. The same way happens in the literary world. Literary agent will charge 15-20% of your advance. His publisher is paying you 2 lakhs, then literary agent will take 40,000 out of your earning. Not many fake literary agent will ask you upfront money. So don't do that. वो एजेंट किसी काम के नहीं होते, उनको तो पैसा मिलेगा, मेहनत क्यों करें. But those genuine agents will really, they have good connection with the publishers. So they will show your work to all the publishers and then will finalize the deal with the best option. So first finish your book and edit it at least 3 times, 4 times. It's portable, get the feedback of peer group. So this kind of things is required. Once you are pakka ready, my book is publishable, then keep writing to agents. Better way to approach the agent. In India, publishers also directly accept the submission. But my advice is try to get a good agent. That will be more helpful. Outside India, no good publisher will read your manuscript. You have to go through the agent. And agent is like, for getting a foreign agent is like finding God. So actually, I wrote a big article about how to find agent in Hindu. It is called Such a Long Journey. If you Google search Such a Long Journey plus Abdullah Khan plus Hindu, then you will get this article. So it is about the publishing process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. We also have Ramhari Gaur raising his hand. Ramhari, you may unmute and ask your question.
Good morning, Abdullah sir, and good morning, Sakit sir, and good morning, Yahya sir also. And
Good morning.
thank you very much for meeting online. Keep online meeting. So Abdullah sir, Abdullah sir, is my question is how to enhance my writing skill. that is the way to show my writing in front of any other person or any other teachers, because I have lots of nervous in my in my under my mind. So that's the way to how to improve my language, how to write a great thing to show in any other person. So
Oh, I
that is.
got your question. I got your question. Basically, Ramari, I exactly come from a similar background, so I very well understand your pain and where it hurts. So there are two challenges. If you are writing in English, one is the linguistic barriers. So obviously, it is not my mother tongue. So I have to find ways to improve or raise the level of writing so that I get published. The second problem is finding a stories. If you have good stories, whether it is written in English or in Hindi or any other language, it hardly matters. So first target is find a good story. Second is to improve your language. So finding a stories, you have to look around. So for first novel, you can explore the experiences you had while growing up, the characters you see in real life, and you can twist those characters, mix and match, then create a story. First thing is first. And for stating a successful story, first you have to think of its ending, where it will end. What is the conclusion of a story? For Romeo and Juliet, if you know how the what will happen to Romeo and Juliet or Hero or Ranja at the end of the story. So this is the first thing. You find the character, then find the ending of the story, then you find the beginning of the story. Where to start? We start from the beginning or you start from the middle. So where to start, where to end? These two things you find. Then find the central conflict. Because from point A point to point C, you have to travel, but character's journey should not be easy. It should be full of challenges. Otherwise, he will not be the hero of my novel. So what are the challenges? Is it social, political, or some physical constraints are there? And then you can throw the culture and social context of your society you are coming from. That is for first level. Second comes to the language. First thing is that you read as much as possible. You read, and not just simple reading. If you are an aspiring writer, you have to read from a different point of view. That is, for example, if I am watching a movie, I am not watching a movie only. I am also looking at the camera angles, music, background. Same way you see how the characters are created, why these characters are likable, why these characters are lovable, why these characters are taking me along, how the journey is happening, how the one events after another is unfolding, how they are progressing from one para to another para. These kind of things you can note down. Even you can make list of the keywords the writer is using and see how these words are used to create a story and what are the words you have in your mind. And keep trying, keep writing. You may have three, four failed attempts. Then finally it will able to do. If I could do, then I believe anyone can do. So I have a madrasa background, then Urdu medium, then Hindi medium. Then I moved to the English medium because I was a science student. There was no option. But I was able to do because I kept trying. That is the only formula. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. As Ram Hari said that he struggles with his confidence, I think we have more than 100 students here, and coming and asking question here in this
He is the
platform
first sign of
is the
confidence,
first
right?
sign of uh, coming ahead uh,
Uh,
of those problems.
और
So
जो
well
आप
done, Ram
हैं,
Hari.
whatever you are, you just believe. So I remember when I went to Aligarh University, and that time I was coming from the small town, and my even Urdu accent was awful, to be honest. So because we spoke a mix of Bhojpuri and Bajika and local language at home, so in my village. So this is spoken especially by the people with the surname Khan, particular the particular characteristic of my language is it is spoken by the people with carrying surname Khan. It is a kind of Bhojpuri, mix of Bhojpuri and Bajika and a bit of other words. So obviously my accent was awful. So I happened to meet a guy who comes from a privileged family, and he was also there for the engineering entrance examination. And he was openly mocking me for my Urdu accent and let alone the English accent. So after many years, the same guy was sitting in the audience and asking question me so respectfully. So things changes. So don't be disheartened by because we are coming from a background, there are certain challenges, certain hurdles. Someone is studying from a Dune school will definitely way ahead of you. But you have to bridge the gap if you want to be there. Okay, Rabhari, all the best.
Okay, thank you, sir.
That is, you have to believe in yourself. That is
Thank
what
you.
sir is
That is
saying.
the
You
only
need to believe in
formula.
yourself.
दुनिया में हर जगह यही होता है.
Okay, sir, but one thing, words are equal for all. Like there's like the Mahesh Dattani also writes same thing, and Sasi Deshpande also. But they have written these words, but words are very familiar to me. But when I will write any story, then I think this is not good writing.
This happens.
So that is the
For
problem.
example, I tell everyone, whenever you are writing, you don't read good books. So it may sound contradictory, but don't keep, when I am writing a book, I will never keep Arundhati Rai, Salman Rushdie or Bikram Seth or V.S. Naipul or any Varhan Pamuk, Murakami. This kind of writers I will not keep on my table. So it happened with me also. Whenever I would read and go back to the God of a small thing, then feel disappointed. Then I will go to the Midnight Children, then I feel disappointed. So I keep doing that because that is why I rewrote the first 6 chapters 200 times because I was trying to compare myself to the masters, but this is not. I will tell a small anecdote when uh, this Mukesh started his singing career. He was just imitating KL Sagar. So one famous music director told him, तुम्हें मुकेश बनना है या केएल सहगल बनना है? केएल सहगल की नकल तो किशोर कुमार भी करते थे और मोहम्मद रफी भी करते थे, बट केएल सहगल का नकल करके वो आगे नहीं बढ़े. वो तभी बढ़े जब वो मोहम्मद रफी बने और किशोर कुमार बने. सेम वे मुकेश चेंज हिज स्टाइल. पहला गाना है मुकेश का, जलता है दिल जलने दो. तो सहगल साहब वाज सिटिंग इन द स्टूडियो एंड ही यूज्ड टू ड्रिंक अ लॉट. तो बोला यार मैंने ये गाना कब गा दिया? बोला सर आपने नहीं गाया है, नए लड़के ने गाया है. रियली? सो यू डोंट कंपेयर योरसेल्फ विद एनीवन. जब ग्रीमस लिखा था सलमान रश्दी ने, ही वाज नॉट श्योर. Arundhati Rai, I know her personally. When she wrote God of Small Things, she was not sure that the style she has adopted, people will mock her. She was very shy. She was not showing it to anyone. Then finally, she shared with the Pankaj Mishra, and rest is the history we all know. So आपके हिसाब से हो सकता है कि वो अच्छा नहीं हो, अजीब हो, डिफरेंट हो, बट मे बी. तो कभी बिरयानी कभी लिट्टी चोखा दोनों का अपना अपना मजा है. तो यू कांट से कि अरे वो तो बिरयानी बहुत बढ़िया बनाया है, बट इट इज अ डिफरेंट मेनू ना. यू आर क्रिएटिंग समथिंग डिफरेंट. सो बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप बिल्कुल ये हो जाए मैंने जो लिख दिया वही फाइनल वर्ड है. यू शुड हैव ए ग्रुप ऑफ फ्रेंड्स एंड फेलो एस्पायरिंग राइटर्स who can give each other feedback and keep writing and keep trying. और कंपेयर मत कीजिए बड़े राइटर से, वो फिर कभी नहीं लिख पाएंगे. देन यू विल नॉट एबल टू कंप्लीट योर नॉवेल. वो तो बहुत विशियस सर्किल है. आई हैड ट्राइड दैट और कई साल मैं फंसा रहा उसमें. तो आई वार्न एवरीवन, कोई घटिया से राइटर को पकड़िए हु आर बेस्ट सेलर बट दे डोंट राइट वेल, देन यू विल फील गुड कि अरे ये इसकी किताब छप के चल सकती है, देन आई कैन आल्सो डू. मैं भी वही करता. ठीक है. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Sahadev is also raising his hand. Sahadev, you may unmute and ask.
Good morning, sir. My question is, what is your favorite part of being a writer, and what's the most surprising thing you learned while writing your books?
So there are so many things, not easy to describe, but the best thing is that when you start writing a long form of fiction, so you stay with a character for many months, sometimes many years. So you begin to feel that they are real characters and you start caring for them. So whenever we have a discussion about my story and characters, and my wife would say this character should do like this, so I feel sometimes offended. I fight with her. कि नहीं ये ऐसा नहीं कर सकता. As if they are the real people. So making friends with imaginary people, the person who really does not exist, is a kind of uh, a kind of a strange pleasure you get when you write a story. Then while doing the research, you stumble upon the information or the something new which is totally new to you. For example, while I was doing research for my second novel, A Man from Motihari, I came to know about the Southern Baptist Christians in America. So you will be surprised the conservative Southern Baptist Christian don't touch alcohol. So I talked to a lady while researching the novel, and she told me her mother will not eat in a restaurant, not eat in a restaurant where uh, where alcohol are served. So it was a very bit surprising for me. Then I came to know there are more than 600 cities and small towns in America where alcohol is totally prohibited. You cannot buy alcohol. Can you believe? In American cities, alcohol is totally prohibited. It is a dry city. But there are more than 600 cities and towns where you cannot legally buy alcohol. If you want to consume, you have to buy from another city and consume it within the premises of your house. बाहर पार्टी दे रहे हैं दारू नहीं चलेगा. अमेरिका कैसे अमेरिका में मोर देन 600 cities हैं ऐसे. They will not legally or not allowed. आपको एप्पल जूस पीना पड़ेगा. So these kind of astonishing things, and they value a lot about the premarital relationship. So many girls and boys from those community will take a virginity pledge. Yeah, I will remain virgin till I find my soulmate. I got married. So this kind of moral values they have, which very sound like middle class Bihari or middle class uh, North Indian morality. So someone has typed Ashish Sinha. I am not able to read. Can you read out it, Ashish? Come online, yeah, and tell me your question instead of typing.
There is some problem in Ashi's mic. Saket, you can ask her questions. She's constantly asking one or two questions. Saket, if you can read it out.
Yes, yes. I'll short it up. It's a very long one. She's asking, she has a story, how to proceed with it. Three best friends, one girl, two best friends, male. In plot is going in the way that one friend is in love with the girl and another friend was proposed by the girl. Now the girl, out of her guilt, could not be in connection with the one she proposed, as that boy felt their friendship is affected. So at the end, second boy fell in love and confessed her what would be in this, how she will proceed with this kind of plot.
So plot is good. You have a lot of stories. First thing is that you flesh out the characters. So you make the list of all the major characters, what they are, how they behave, how whether they are selfish or they are sacrificing kind of person, and what are their views about the other characters. This kind of exercise you do, then you think of the ending. I told you earlier, the main challenge of a story is finding a satisfying climax. So climax may be anything, but after the climax, it may be tragedy, it may be comedy, it may be sad, it may be happy, but the reader should be satisfied. So that satisfaction can be derived from a good climax. So think of climax. What will happen at the end of the story? Once that is resolved, that is worked out, then you think of beginning, where you will start a story. From the beginning of the story or in the middle of the story. Then you have to think of the flashback. And then think of the characters, their background, where are they coming from, what are their motivation. These kinds of details you work out, then you start writing, keep writing again and again, and it will work, no problem. You can also take an example from the similar novel. If you are writing a romance, then you can pick up any good romance novel and then see. And it's better to start from the middle. If best way to start from the middle. But you can also start from the beginning if a story is that straightforward. And it is not a rocket science, but you have to pick up the pen or keyboard, whatever applies to you, and just start typing. But you work on the characters and ending and beginning and what will the biggest challenge. खत्म कहाँ होगी कहानी ये पहले सोचिए, फिर सोचिए कि शुरू कहाँ से करें, बताना कहाँ शुरू करें. कहानी शुरू तो बहुत पहले से होती है, लेकिन कहीं बीच से पकड़ लीजिए. Or there should be some inciting incident, something which will give the pace to the writing. For your kind information, I would like to tell you, first 5 pages are very crucial. You have to grave your readers within 5 pages. Otherwise, editors will not take your novel. They will read first 5 pages, sometime even first 2 pages after that. So within that, I will give you an example of the man from Motihari. I will read a line. So the first line says, I was born in a haunted bungalow and the midwife was a ghost, or so says my family. I was 9 or maybe 10 when Aunt Zarina first told me about the eventful night. In the ensuing years, my father, that's Abba, and my mother, that's Ammi, shared their versions of stories. Ammi had made me promise to not to go near the bungalow ever, but I sensed right away that I was not going to keep my word. So, where the story starts, the character is telling that he was born in a bungalow which was haunted, and the midwife was a ghost. So, this is a kind of information which will create interest in the reader. I might have kept this in the middle of the story, but no, I decided to keep at the beginning to grab the readers. Second example, I will read from the Patna Blue. It is a simple start. In this story, the character is returning from the college and then he finds that his room has been taken by the relatives. So his house is in Patna and relatives from the village keep visiting. Some of the relatives are a stranger to him because he never met them. They just come with the reference from their uncles and his room is taken and he's a lower middle class boy, so don't have the enough space. So he decides to go outside house and then he meets Sumitra. So here the story starts in the beginning. Both the main characters meet each other and how do you got interested? Now what will happen? So this is how you create interest in the readers. It is not necessary that it start from a particular point. You have to see where the readers will be most interested. Then you can unfold a story. If you have some story before that timeline, then you can create a kind of interesting flashback. And be careful, there should not be a lot of flashback, and flashback stories should not be the long. Because once you create a longer version of flashback, then a story will go into the past, then there will be disconnect with the present situation. So flashback should be supplied to the readers in bits and pieces. एक बार पूरा खाना नहीं देना है. You have to give the piece of bread, then again after some time. So you have a full details about the backdrop, flashback or the past story of a character, but in bits and pieces. Half page, 1 page, something. पहले ये करता था, वो किया था. That he can be included. I think आपका सवाल का जवाब मिल गया हो. Thank you.
We'll have two more questions, sir. We have Anandita Maiti raising her hand. Anandita.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Anandita.
So my question is from your novel Patna's Blues. What choice did you make in crafting Sumitra's character, and how did you balance her complexities with the challenges of portraying a married woman in an unconventional relationship?
So, how it comes to when I was trying to become a writer, Anandita, so I got a book written by some Mr. Vyas. I don't remember his name. So it was the only book I think that time published in India about the writing process. The book was called How to Get Published. So this book was not available anywhere. Anyhow, I was able to find it in a Patna bookstore. And when I started reading that time, I was new, still in college. So whatever advice was coming to me was very sacrosanct for me. So there was a line written there. Your character should not be conventional. There should be some twist. There should be some challenges. So, and that time I was also reading Anna Karenina, the Tolstoy book. So there is a story of a young man and a married woman's love story. So somewhere that was influenced. Then I happens to meet a old lady, and her family was very conservative, but she was very open-minded. So she used to get food from my house also. So I was surprised. I asked her, Dadiji, your family is very conservative. Some of her relatives will not eat within a Muslim household, but you being older, you are supposed to be more conservative. Then she told me her story. Her father was posted in a small town where there was a sizable Muslim population, and she learned a bit of Urdu, and she has a soft corner for Muslims also. So I thought of Sumitra from that character. So a Maithil Brahmin lady who is fond of Urdu literature because she has studied in a school. So that was an interesting idea. And poetry, Urdu poetry, which is which works as a kind of uh, a glue between these two. Because Sumitra is happily married. The problem is the companionship. Her husband is not intellectually at par with her. So she is looking for the intellectual companionship with Arif, who is younger to her but intellectually at par with her. And this love of Urdu poetry brings them together. But if you are spending a lot of time with each other, obviously the emotional connection will also be made. This is how the things happen with the Sumitra. But finally they decided to part their ways because they both coming from a middle class family. They have a kind of set of values they cannot breach. So this is how the story or character was found.
Okay, so we are moving towards the last question. Abhishek wants to ask his question. Abhishek.
Yes, sir. Very good morning, sir.
Good morning,
Actually, this is
Abhishek.
the answer of my first question, that what is the best way to start the story and the novel writing. My second question is, sir, when we start to write any story and the novel, sometimes we face the difficulties to choose the words. So what is the solution of it, sir?
Nee, first question, what is the best way to write a novel? It was the first question.
No, sir. How we can start? Like when we are writing the story or novel, what is the best way to start?
Okay. And second question?
And the second question is, when we start to write any novel or a story, then sometimes we face the issue with or problem with the choose the words, like what we can
Exact word. Exact word.
yeah, yeah,
Exact.
exact word. So what is the solution of it?
Okay, okay. So luckily, you are living in a time where a lot of resources are available. That time we used to have a rosette thesaurus and try to find the exact word for mm, the whatever you are trying to write. So first is how to the best way to write a story or write a fiction or write a novel. So it depends upon every individual. So I will tell you how I proceed and what are my methods. So what I do, mostly first think of the theme I'm going to write or of a story, brief story. For example, what happens when Arif, an aspiring IS, meets Sumitra, a Maithil Brahmin woman married with 2 kids and who is fond of Urdu poetry. What will happen? What will be the consequences? So this was the basic idea. These two characters and where their story will go. Then I will work out the ending and the beginning as you told and the sorry, an obstacle in achieving the final climax. So this is how. So I earlier told you I create a list of characters and I then make the blueprint of each chapter because every chapter is a mini novel. So whenever think of a chapter, think of a beginning, middle, and end. So there is a small chapter, and it should be independent entity. So, for example, in first chapter, I decided to focus on the Arif meeting Sumitra. So where I start? I start in Patna Blues with Arif coming from his college to his house, and then gives the idea about his background, his family. Most of the characters in his family is introduced indirectly, not directly. And then he visits a park where he meets Sumitra. So this is how the major characters are introduced. And you notice Arif coming from college is the beginning. Then he meeting Sumitra is the midpoint. At the end of the story, what happens from hospital, Sumitra suddenly disappears and Arif is sad. And he writes a diary entry about that woman as a lady in black because she was wearing black sari that day. And so this is how the story is split into different chapters. And first chapter itself is a story. आप देखिए सुमित्रा से मिला, he develops a feeling in a very short time. उसके बाप को हॉस्पिटल ले जाता है और आखिर में सुमित्रा अचानक गायब हो जाती है। वो भेजती है बाहर किसी को, जब वो वापस आता है तो शी इज नॉट इन हॉस्पिटल, वो अपने फादर को लेके कहीं और हॉस्पिटल में चली गई एंड शी हैज लेफ्ट नो मैसेज। सो इन ये अपने आप में स्टोरी कि किसी से मिले, इन्फ्लुएंस हो गए और फिर वो चली गई, दिल में कसक, खलिश, खलिश इज ए appropriate word in Urdu. You feel kind of sweet pain for someone whom you meet very briefly and developed a kind of feeling, a strong feeling. So this is how the chapters are designed. Each chapter is a mini novel. And by putting brick by brick, you create a novel. So, but this is my method. Every writer follows different formula. And what was the second question?
The second
Choice
was
of words.
Your second question answered.
So it was about choice of words.
Okay. So especially not only us, even those who are English coming from the English speaking world, they also find sometimes difficult to find an appropriate word. What kind of word? If someone is walking, walking can be in different way. So if you are writing, don't waste your time finding exact word. You just write a hinting for his feet is heavy and walking, he's dragging or lurching if he's drunk. So this kind of description you write with the star marks, or even you write in Hindi also sometimes. I sometimes don't find the exact word. I write in Hindi, वो झूमते झूमते चल रहा था. Then sometimes you know the word, it will not come. So you writing walking, but you giving the star and writing कि किस हालत में चल रहा है, how it is चले. So you give the description of that. walking. And then once in the second round, you can go back, take the help of a thesaurus or online search and find the right word. There are flip dictionary also. You know the flip dictionary? There are some flip dictionary, very good flip dictionary, where uh, meaning is given first. Then, for example, you want to write about a person walking in a different way. So you will get the many entries: walking drunk, walking with sorrow, walking with heavy feet, walking with this. Then we will get the exact English word for that kind of. Uh, uh, so this is how you work. But when you are writing, you just write walk, put a star, and when you come back to edit, then you try to find the exact word. Don't stop. Otherwise, it take lot of time.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, sir. It has been a really inspiring session. I'm sure all the students will take the benefit, will take all your advices, your suggestions. So shall we move ahead, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so I would like to
Abdullah bhai,
call upon.
just a minute,
Yes,
Saket,
yes,
please.
yes, sir.
I have a small little question. Uh, we know that most of the writers in English had a journalistic background also. Say Bernard Shaw, say Dickens. They were writing for journalism. They were writing for media also. They were writing for, I mean, media those days, jaisa bhi hoga wo. And they were writing for literature also. You are also writing for different medias, right? And you are, most of your stories are revolving around, say, the greater Bihar, like that. So how, as a writer, do you find it difficult to convert a fact into a fiction? क्योंकि डिकेंस ने, डैनियल डिफो ने एक दफा कहा था, once Defoe said कि a journalist and a novelist are the same. They know which story and which fact has to be get enlarged and which story has to be get shortened. वो उसने मतलब ये कि किस कहानी को बात का बतंगड़ बढ़ा दें और किसी फैक्ट को बहुत छोटा बना दें, हालांकि although it is very important. So how you as a fiction writer find it difficult or easy maybe to convert a fact into a fiction? This is my first question.
Okay. So basically, you are right. When you are a journalist, you are presenting the fact it is. When you are writing a fiction, you are creating something which is fictional. But fiction, I believe, whenever I read the non-fiction book and fiction book, I believe that fiction is more non-fiction. So once you are writing a fiction, you put a disclaimer. Everything here is fiction and any coincidence is mere coincidence. It is not any intent to insult anyone or but fact is that this is more factual than the non-fiction because you are liberated from that disclaimer. Now you are free to write. So whenever you get a idea or any story or any character from the real life, then it is your personal choice. For example, you are meeting 5 people during an interview for a particular kind of event. Then you begin to like someone who is more close to your emotional quotient, you more connected to you emotionally. Then you try to explore his story. Maybe, and sometimes you mix and match. For example, you are creating a character and you want your character in a particular way. So I will pick up 5 people and take a bit from them, and then eating habits from like A, reading habit like B. So this is how you mix and match. So you get a kind of freedom to create your own characters. There may be mix of many characters. And it is easy and difficult both. Sometimes difficult in this such a way that sometimes the information provided through the newspaper is boring, complicated, or something which may not be accepted by those who are seeking thrills. So in literary fiction, serious fiction, maybe those information might be used. But in fiction, it will not be accepted by the readers easily if you dump the information. Then now it is your expertise as a writer how to pass on those information. जैसे if you are feeding a small child, उसको ऐसे ही healthy food खिलाना है, then you create stories. कौवा आया, you show them and then put a morsel in his mouth and he chew. या कुछ कड़वी दवा खिलानी है तो चॉकलेट साथ में है, तो एक चम्मच कड़वी दवा खिलाया, then you put a bit of chocolate. So same way, if you have to pour some hard truths, some bitter fact to your readers, then you have to find the chashni, the sweet dish, within which you wrap these truths and make it palatable. So this is the challenge. But sometimes it is easy also. You become free, you can write yourself. For example, for Saket, I know something about Saket. I will write a article in the newspaper, I file a defamation. But I will change the name from Saket to Ankit. His college name is also changed. Jamshedpur is made Bokaro. And I write everything about him. And he can't claim. हो सकता है मैं 2 और मसाले मिला दूं कि इसने ये किया वो किया. अब now the problem is that if he files a defamation against me, then he have to accept that those are truth. मैंने कुछ और uncomfortable stories add कर दिया which is not clear. Then he have to take the ownership of all the stories. So I become free. I can write anything. Everybody knows कि साकेत की कहानी आप भी जान रहे हैं, हम भी जान रहे हैं, but वो भी जान रहा है, मैं भी जान रहा हूँ, but he can't sue me. So it's a kind of freedom. Once you get into the fiction, you can tell the truth with more conviction, more freely. हमारे पास जो proof नहीं है, लेकिन I know 100% it is सच है. साकेत के बारे में सच है, then I can tell this. लेकिन नॉन फिक्शन में फंस जाएंगे. This is how it helps.
Yes, sir. एक और छोटा सा सवाल. Since you used the word चाशनी, मैं वहीं से अपना सवाल पूछ लूं, because we belonging to the same place from where you are taking up your stories, so we are basically in awe with your stories being taken from the Bihari hinterlands and all that. तो हम लोग तो already आपकी कहानियों से बहुत flat हैं, being Bihari and being all living in those areas. लेकिन don't you think that regional novel, which is a very famous and which is a very important genre in English fiction, in British fiction, in American fiction, इसको बहुत इज्जत की निगाह से देखा जाता है regional novel को, original fiction को. But as far as the Indian scenario or Indian literary scenario is concerned, we don't look at it in a very good way. I mean, we उस पे हम लोग regionalism का ठप्पा लगा देते हैं. Since most of your stories are coming from Bihar, are you not afraid of being typed as a writer in the Indian literary scenario as only somebody who is writing on Bihar, from Bihar, about Bihar?
एक्चुअली जो आपने सवाल किया बहुत अच्छा सवाल है, और मुझे सबसे बड़ा ऑब्जेक्शन और प्रॉब्लम है रीजनल फिक्शन और रीजनल लैंग्वेज. इस वर्ड से मुझे परहेज है, मुझे खासकर. आई डोंट सब्सक्राइब टू एवरी story is global, every story is regional. For example, if you are writing about NRI in English, is it applicable to how much percentage of the humanity? Few lakhs, few crore maximum. So, and you are writing a story in Bangla, it is applicable to 10 crore, 25 to 30 crore Bengalis across border. सो 25 करोड़ को सोच के लिखी गई कहानी रीजनल, लेकिन 1 करोड़ एनआरआई को सोच कर लिखी गई कहानी ग्लोबल. हाउ इट बिकम भाई? डेफिनेशन कौन दे रहा है? तो वो तो मैप वाली बात हुई कि मैप में ऊपर अमेरिका रहेगा और यूरोप रहेगा. ये किसने डिसाइड किया? हु डिसाइडेड अफ्रीका विल बी एट द लोअर एंड ऑफ ए मैप? आसमान में तो ऊपर नीचे कुछ नहीं होता ना. इट कुड हैव बीन द अफ्रीका ऊपर होता, यूरोप नीचे होता. But those who define, who take call, they give kind of definition to. Sometimes it is disparaging. उसको एक लिमिट करने वाली साजिश भी है. So I am proud of that. I write what I know. मुझे पता है और हमारी कहानियां पहुंची नहीं है. These stories are not told. And actually I am appreciated. अभी डॉक्टर शशि थरूर मिले थे हिंदू लेख में. He told me, I am happy to know that you write stories set in Bihar. That is required. Everyone is writing that. जैसे कलकत्ता के बारे में कोई स्टोरी लिख रहा है, that is also regional. If someone is writing about the Kerala, that is also regional. If someone is writing about the Nigeria or America or Brazil or UK, still it is regional. Even UK में चले जाए, यॉर्कशायर की इंग्लिश देखें, the way they pronounce it, the way they speak is a totally different. कल्चर देखिए, जैसे मैंने कहा ना कि साउदर्न बैप्टिस्ट जो है डाउन साउथ चले जाए यूएस में, शराब वाले दुकान में खाना नहीं खाते. दे विल नॉट. मेरी एक दोस्त है, आई टॉक टू हर बिकॉज मेरे कहानी में, और मेरी कहानी जैसे सेकंड वाली है, इसमें सेकंड पार्ट इज सेट इन यूएस. आप पढ़ेंगे तो पाएंगे देयर आर कैरेक्टर्स. ही इज कमिंग फ्रॉम ए कंजर्वेटिव साउदर्न बैप्टिस्ट क्रिश्चियन फैमिली, और उसके फैमिली में जैसे द मेन कैरेक्टर इज ए मुस्लिम बट ही ड्रिंक्स. तो उसको पूछता है उसका बाप कि क्या पियोगे, वो कहता है कि बियर चलेगा. बोलेंगे नहीं, हम लोग तो बैप्टिस्ट क्रिश्चियन है, घर में अल्कोहल नहीं रख सकते. एप्पल जूस मिल सकता है या ग्रीन टी मिल सकता है. तो इज ए काइंड ऑफ सरप्राइज ना, ए कैरेक्टर कमिंग फ्रॉम द मोतिहारी एंड इज ए मुस्लिम, ही इज विलिंग टू ड्रिंक अल्कोहल, बट ए क्रिश्चियन गाय फ्रॉम अमेरिका is not willing to keep the alcohol in the house. पीने की बात छोड़, वो घर में रख भी नहीं सकते. So this kind of surprises we get, और everything is regional, everything is global. God of a small thing कौन सा global है? But everyone is reading the story.
True.
A suitable boy is not a global story. It is set in a fictional बिहारी यूपी टाउन. मैंने पूछा था विक्रम सेठ से कि ब्रह्मपुर तो पटना लगता है, क्योंकि वो सेंट माइकल के स्टूडेंट रहे ना विक्रम सेठ. ही स्टडीड एट सेंट माइकल. तो उन्होंने बताया कि पटना प्लस कानपुर, क्योंकि उनके फादर कानपुर में थे शू इंडस्ट्री में. ही वाज इन, हिज फादर वाज इन बाटा. पटना में बाटा का जो है वहां पे थे. तो ही हैड मिक्स्ड दैट पटना एंड कानपुर एंड क्रिएटेड ए ब्रह्मपुर. So that is how we are able to connect it to that story. लगता है पटना ही है. So रीजनल और ग्लोबल वाला कॉन्सेप्ट मुझे, हाँ, अच्छी स्टोरी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल माई स्टोरी, आई विल टेल यू एग्जाम्पल. अब अल्जीरिया का कोई बंदा आता है, समवन फ्रॉम अल्जीरिया और इजिप्ट, एंड ही इज टेलिंग दैट आई एम एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई विद आरी. इट इज a सरप्राइज ना, काइंड ऑफ सरप्राइज. ए upper caste male from Odisha, because minus the Muslim identity, everything is my story. A lady who wrote a very long letter from Karnataka. She used to teach Kannada in her in a school. She was a Kannada teacher, and she was able to identify with the character because when she was in college, उसकी 5 बहनें थी, एंड फादर टोल्ड हर, बेटा आईएएस के लिए टाइम लगेगा और आई डोंट हैव मनी टू सेंड यू टू बंगलोर टू ज्वाइन ए कोचिंग क्लास. यू हैव टू गेट इनटू जॉब इमीडिएटली. सो आफ्टर ग्रेजुएशन शी डिड बीएड एंड देन joined as a teacher, retired as a teacher. After reading my book, she said कि मेरा जख्म हरा हो गया. I wanted to be an IAS. She's 80-year-old. So this is how the story connects. And at the time of publication, some of the people who gave the feedback, उनका ये कहना था, छोटे गांव में मिडिल क्लास, लोअर मिडिल क्लास मुस्लिम फैमिली की कहानी, who will be interested? Nobody will be interested. लेकिन ऐसी बात नहीं है, हर तरह की कहानियों की पहुंच है. और जो अपर क्लास है, जो एनआरआई क्लास है, दोज हु हैज स्टडीड एट हार्वर्ड एंड ऑक्सफोर्ड एंड देन कम बैक टू इंडिया और दे आर स्टेइंग इन यूएस, वैसे क्लास वाले कितने हैं? वी डोंट नो कि व्हाट देयर लाइफ आर. हमने सुना जरूर है, लेकिन हमें नहीं पता कि उनकी जिंदगी क्या है. स्टिल वी आर रीडिंग. वैसे भी किताबें चलती. हमारे जैसों की पॉपुलेशन तो बहुत ज्यादा है, विद ए बिट ऑफ वैरायटी. तमिलनाडु में भी डिफरेंट एंगल, कश्मीर में वो एंगल डिफरेंट चेंज हो जाएगा, बट We all are coming from the middle class and majority of us have some connection with our villages. ज्यादातर लोगों का रूरल बैकग्राउंड है, आज नहीं तो एक जनरेशन पहले दादाजी तो जरूर गांव से आए होंगे या आपके वालिद आए होंगे. So somewhere we are connected. So and some kind of sense of discovery, deja vu feeling also make you connect the story. It is not. For example, I am big fan of Nigerian fiction, especially Adichie. So I never know about the Biafra revolution, but once I came to know, I got interested. अरे क्या दुनिया है, fascinating world. How the Igbo and Hausa community interact with themselves, how their language, culture, eating habits, their religious identity works. So this is how you get interested. Sometimes कोई अनजान चीज मिल जाती है तो साइंस फिक्शन में क्या होता है, हम दूसरे प्लानेट पर चले जाते हैं, स्टिल वी एंजॉय, वी डोंट नो. तो वो तरह की चीजें भी होती है, रीडर्स कई तरह के होते हैं. कुछ वो जो पहचान वाली चीज को पसंद करते हैं, कुछ है कि नई चीजों को, एक्सोटिज्म वाला फैक्टर भी काम करता है सब. तो ये चीज. थैंक यू.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful words, sir. A very inspiring session, a wonderful one. So we are moving ahead now. I would like to invite, call upon our student Homa to propose the vote of thanks. Homa?
साकेत सर, मैं कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ वोट ऑफ थैंक्स से
हाँ
पहले.
हाँ, जी जी जी, बिल्कुल.
मैं क्लास ही 11-10 बजे से मैं लगातार जुड़ा हूँ और मुझे अच्छा लगा कि आपके के माध्यम से ये कार्यक्रम हुआ और अब्दुल्ला सर को सुनने का मुझे अवसर मिल पाया. मैं सर को परिचय अपना पहले दे दूं. मैं हिंदी पत्रकारिता और जनसंचार का सर विद्यार्थी रहा हूं और मुजफ्फरपुर से BR अम्बेडकर से, और मैं पटना में भी फिलहाल रहता हूं और मैं इंटर्नशिप न्यूज़ 24 से कर रहा हूं. सर मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि आपका मुझे मार्गदर्शन मिल पाया. 1 घंटे के सेशन में आपने बहुत सारी बातें बताई और ये इंटरेक्टिव इसलिए भी रहा क्योंकि मैं एक पत्रकारिता का विद्यार्थी हूँ. तो मैं इस बात को समझता हूँ कि क्योंकि हमें लिखना बहुत जरूरी होता है. जब तक हम लिखेंगे नहीं तो फिर हमारी पत्रकारिता दिखेगी नहीं. तो इसीलिए आपसे जो आज मुझे मार्गदर्शन मिला अब्दुल्ला सर, मैंने आपकी किताबें तो पढ़ी नहीं है मगर मैंने सुना था उसके बारे में. मगर अब कोशिश करूंगा सर कि आपकी जो किताबें हैं, ये 2 किताबें मैं पढ़ने का प्रयास करूंगा कि मैं उसे पढूं और कुछ जान पाऊं. क्योंकि सर मैं अगर यहाँ कह दूं कि मैं आपकी किताबें पढ़ा ये बातें, तो ये मेरे लिए भी मैं अपने आप को धोखा दूंगा क्योंकि मैं किताबें पढ़ा नहीं हूँ. मगर हाँ, मैंने आपकी अखबार में कई बार वो चीजें जब आपने लॉन्च किया था तो उस समय में मैं पढ़ा था. मेरा एग्जामिनेशन का भी समय चल रहा था. तो मुझे सर बहुत अच्छा लगा अब्दुल्ला सर, क्योंकि आपके माध्यम यहाँ इस कॉलेज के माध्यम से मैं यहाँ सुन पाया. अगर ये आभासी कार्यक्रम नहीं हो पाता तो अब्दुल्ला सर मुझे नहीं पता कि आपसे हमारी भेंट होती या नहीं होती या कब होती, ये मैं भी नहीं जानता हूँ. तो कॉलेज के सभी जो प्रिंसिपल हैं मैं उन्हें बहुत दिल से धन्यवाद देता हूँ, क्योंकि इस तरह के आयोजन अगर आभासी माध्यम से होते हैं और इस तरह के पर्सन्स अगर यहाँ आते हैं तो यहाँ 1 घंटा के सेशन से बहुत कुछ जानने और सीखने को भी मिलता है. जब हम कोरोना काल में घर में पैक थे, घर में बंद थे, तो हमारे पास कोई माध्यम नहीं था सर. मगर एक माध्यम मिला, गूगल मीट, जूम, वेबएक्स जैसे प्लेटफॉर्म मिल पाया और इतने सारे गुरुजन मुझे मिल गए. संजीव भनावत सर मिल गए, KG सुरेश सर मिल गए, संजय द्विवेदी सर मिल गए. शायद मैं उनसे कभी हम उनसे मिल भी नहीं पाते, मगर उनके बातों को सुन कर मैंने बहुत कुछ सीखा. आज इसी बीच में मैंने अब्दुल्ला सर को भी पाया और मुझे खुशी है साकेत सर, आपने भी संचालन बहुत अच्छे तरीके से किया कार्यक्रम का. मैं आपको भी मैं तहे दिल से शुक्रिया करता हूँ, क्योंकि सीखने का तो अवसर हर जगह मिलता है. हर छोटी छोटी चीजों को जब हम पकड़ कर सीखते हैं तो बहुत सारी बातें हमें सीखने का अवसर भी देता है. तो बहुत अच्छा लगा सर. आगे भी इस तरह का आभासी माध्यम से कार्यक्रम जरूर आयोजित कीजिएगा. और मैं फेसबुक पेज पे तो जुड़ा हूँ और मुझे इसकी जानकारी वहां से ही मिल पाती है. कोशिश कीजिएगा कि वहां पे आप जरूर अपडेट कर दीजिए. नंबर हो या ना हो कोई बात नहीं, लेकिन कम से कम वहां अपडेट होता है तो हम जुड़ना चाहेंगे आगे भी. धन्यवाद.
थैंक यू सोनू, थैंक यू. पढ़ के बताइएगा किताब कैसी लगी. ठीक है
अब्दुल्ला भाई को हम लोग एक दफा बुलाएंगे, आइदर इन पटना और इन जमशेदपुर. वी विल टेक अ चांस टू कॉल हिम एंड विजिट दिस प्लेस पर्सनली. और तब सोनू आप भी आइएगा.
बेशक बेशक.
साकेत प्लीज गो अहेड.
ठीक है सोनू, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सोनू. जरूर जुड़े रहिए हमसे. हम इवेंट्स हम लोग करते रहते हैं. फेसबुक में आपको पोस्ट इसके रिगार्डिंग जरूर मिलता रहेगा. जुड़ते रहे हमसे. Huma, can we go ahead? Propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the PG Department of English, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, Mr. Abdullah Khan, sir. We are truly honored to have had the privilege of hosting you as our distinguished guest. Your insightful and inspiring words have enriched our understanding. Once again, thank you, sir, for gracing us with your wisdom and presence. We look forward to future collaboration and continued celebration of learning. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you. शुक्रिया उमा, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया
Thank you
सर.
so much, sir. Thank you so much. We will be in touch and we'll be waiting for Patna Redux.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, recording.